What's going on, podcasters? It's Level 1 Woke, and we're back with another episode. So, being 9/11, we thought we'd give a tribute, do a little 9/11 episode. Right. So, talk about the facts and talk about the conspiracies about it, because, 18 years later? Going on 20 years later?
18 years, that's wild.
Everybody knows something about that official story that was told is not right. And even the people telling the official story, the 9/11 commission, the people that were commissioned for the 9/11 investigation, even they said they were lied to by the CIA, right, by the Bush administration,
right,
by the military. So they're getting the runaround and they're getting stalled at every corner trying to investigate this. So, and that's the people that were in head of the official report. They're telling you from the beginning we're being lied to.
Right.
So,
yeah. There's a lot of things that definitely don't add up. That's very questionable with the whole
couple eyebrow raising incidents.
Yeah. But definitely,
first and foremost, though, tribute, homage to all the fallen, the family members, all the loved ones, lost ones of 9/11.
There definitely was a lot of innocent lives lost, for sure. But what I'm trying to say is there's some shady characters behind it, not the ones that we were told who were behind it.
Oh yeah, the official narrative is always questionable, or else we wouldn't be talking about the subject.
Got to, baby. You gotta question everything.
Always look for an alternative narrative to what the government tells you, for sure. Especially when they just blast it all on the news. Like, these guys were failures at everything. They couldn't even pass the flight simulation test, and they were doing cocaine and drinking and hanging out with strippers, living with strippers and shit, or living it up, whatever the fuck that they were doing.
Sure.
But these are the people that pulled off the most, thought out, orchestrated
pretty
hit.
Elaborate. It's not something just an average
19 people with box cutters is gonna.
Yeah, that's one of the things that's very questionable.
Look at also the President Bush at the time, his actions when he was told about the attack.
When he was reading the book upside down to the kids.
Yeah, and this guy just supposedly continued what he was doing without, don't get up and run, we're under attack, and all the little kids get scared, but
that's a national security threat, man.
Somebody is going to step in and finish that book for you so you could go. He stayed there and finished the book.
Upside down,
which he wasn't even reading. They were reading it through his earpiece, and he was just repeating what he was being told. That's why it didn't matter if the book was upside down or not.
Right. That's just, one of the many things that are questionable.
He probably couldn't even fucking read. That fucking guy.
You never
cheated
know.
with the election.
I used to not like that guy, but I'd take him over Trump.
Wow.
Yeah, wow, right? Anyway, but no.
Wow.
Yeah, wow.
That's a statement. Wow, I'd take Bill Clinton over Bush. Aside from all his personal shit that he got going on, but just as far as how he ran it as president, I would do that over the way Bush ran as president.
Well, personally, I don't like none of them niggas.
Yeah,
and
me
to
either.
Be honest with you,
they're not really there for us. Like,
this event
set in place to be good for us anyway. So
yeah, like I mentioned to you earlier, this event really got me to question. Sorry guys, but our government and how they care about us and how they react and things that they do to us. So, and hopefully we can share some things with you guys to help you realize that,
like Tupac said, they don't really give a fuck about us. Or like Michael Jackson said, they don't really care about us. Yeah. Tupac had a song too. Yeah. They don't give a fuck about us. Yep. Michael Jackson had, they don't care about us.
Yeah, it's a thing.
And it's been preached in music and everything over the whole.
They're letting you know, bro. Fucked up.
That's basically what the show is. Like, yo, wake the fuck up. All right? Learn the information, research it, validate it.
Yeah.
And then wake the fuck up. Stay woke. Pass it on. Encourage another researcher. Encourage, somebody else to look into what you're... Don't encourage them to take your word for it, but encourage them... Yeah. So just create researchers in the process. And that's how you can combat what the government does. you know, at a local level or like the most minimum level of combating what, you know, their process of control or whatever is just being aware, being conscious and spreading it and, you know, creating more researchers to do the same.
Yep.
Trust me.
And one of the
You'll be on a government watch list in no time.
Yeah, easy. Well, yeah, one of the things that caught my attention in the beginning was like the immediate interviews that went down right as, you know, the events happened. Like a lot of people in the interviews like said some stuff that didn't add up. Like like a lot of people heard explosions. I mean the building's on fire or whatever, but like explosions going down the stairways and stuff like that, and
yeah, in other areas that wasn't even like relative to where the plane hit, shit's exploding.
Right.
I heard some of the interviews, especially the famous Barry Jennings interview, and then he went missing. Some of his family went missing, like, or supposedly I think declared dead, lawfully declared dead, but was missing. And that guy was on the 8th floor in Building 7 talking about explosions being blown back into the staircase because of an explosion. And he said by the time he got to the lobby, he's asking the firefighters, where are we?
Right.
It's in such ruins and so fucked up chaos everywhere that he couldn't even identify the inside of the building. They're like, oh, we're walking through the lobby right now. And he's like, what? This is the lobby?
Right.
So there was explosions going on all through Building 7. Like, I mean, you're not really... How does it doesn't get hit, so how does it fall? Their theory was that it caught fire and the fire burned for so long that it melted the steel infrastructure because they said maybe it was weakly constructed because it was over a railroad tunnel or some shit like that, which won't you think you would construct it stronger being over something?
Yeah, like
conflicting stories from the officials is what really gets you questioning the narrative that they give you. Which same shit was like with the Oklahoma bombing. You got to question that shit.
Everything.
They're giving out information that don't match in that story. But the Twin Towers was special because that shit it happened in the era where videotaping and video cameras and camera phones were like on the rise.
Right.
Like they're not as perfect as, you know, what we have now, but it was taken off in that era. Like, all right, everything had a camera, and that's why, you know, you can find so much footage of that. Yeah, and it was publicized to the public on, you know, by the time the second tower hit, every news camera was already on it. You know, everything, but
so I remember watching it as a kid when this happened. So this was what, 2001. I was a sophomore in high school. I remember watching it, and I remember thinking to myself, like, I ain't no type of rocket scientist or engineer or any type of thing, but it didn't make sense to me that one plane can take down a whole building.
And not only that, these buildings were constructed with the idea of a plane hitting them in mind. They would be able to withstand that. So they were constructed to withstand a plane hit. So
I think I even read somewhere that a plane actually crashed into the Trade Center
before. Yeah, for sure. I think it was like in the 90s or the 80s. Like it was a small probably like single engine, like private plane or something. But and not only that, there was an attack on the World Trades back in the 90s. I think they blew up the parking garage or some shit like that.
Yeah, basement. They
blew up the basement.
Yep. And the train.
Like, that's why you hear Biggie Smalls blow up like the World Trade. Like, so it's like,
and how the whole building didn't fall from the base, the integrity of the building.
But you can hit it up high, and
so, you know, that doesn't happen.
And supposedly they're trying to tell us the jet fuel melted the steel. All right, jet fuel don't burn at a high enough degrees to melt steel.
Again, that's something I don't know nothing about. But I believe I
mean, from researching I found out. I'm not a fucking specialist or anything in any of these fields, but from the official, you know, reports that are out there and researching it doesn't. Steel doesn't like that, it doesn't melt at that degree.
I've seen footage of buildings on fire, tall buildings on fire for hours, and the beams don't just melt like that. You know what I mean? So
I mean, jet fuel is a little hotter, but I mean, if you got jet fuel streaming down the infrastructure of the building, because when the plane hit, it looked like an explosion, like the fucking movies.
Right.
Like shit doesn't explode on impact. There's not like instant fire and bloom. Like, no, it doesn't happen. Like that fuel's got to get mixed, and it's got to be a right like combustion of air and right mixture of everything, like elements, everything going on. I don't even think. I have no idea. You see that shit explode as soon as like the tip of the nose hit it. Yeah, it's like boom.
It was laced with fuel everywhere. I guess they do carry a lot of fuel on the plane, but still on impact, instant explosion. Another thing, did you hear like if they found like the bodies from the wreckage and stuff like that? Like
from the planes?
Yeah.
I don't think there was nothing recovered from they couldn't even find the black boxes from the plane.
And where does that happen where a plane explodes?
And you can't even find the black box.
It incinerates everything.
That doesn't, even in the most craziest conditions at like, you know, the towers being hit and collapsing, it's still going to be there, because you have to look at the fact that one of the hijackers' passports was found like 2 blocks away from the towers. His passport was found, but you can't find a black box. You can't find him, but somehow his passport was found.
Right. So
that's wild. That's wild.
That's all fishy. You know, they got the plane just vanishing after it crashes into
impact.
the impact.
The whole plane goes all the way into the building too, which looks crazy. Well, it looks like holographic butter. Almost, but
again, I don't know about that, but it could be right. It looked like it went through like butter.
That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, I saw. To
me, it looked almost like holographic. Yeah, like it looked like a no problem, like you said, like cutting butter and shit.
I've seen some videos where the plane didn't add up, like it
and it went, and the plane perfectly curved, so the whole diameter of the wingspan went perfectly into the building. Right. So it's not like I hit the building and a wing flew off and went over there. Yeah. So it turned perfectly where the whole wings went right into the building.
Fit. Yeah, what a coincidence.
Which it says in the Pentagon plane that supposedly first of all, none of that adds up. We're going to get into it. But for the planes, they say both of those planes, like both of those wings broke off before the plane, like it was flying kind of like sideways, or the plane the wing tipped the tree or the ground, and then the wings broke off before the plane actually hit the Pentagon. Can't find none of that shit. Can't find an engine. You telling me jet fuel's melting an engine, a steel engine?
Right.
That shit's all questionable with the Pentagon, with Building 7 and the second tower. But I mean, I say if terrorists did do anything, it was probably the first tower, and everything else was probably orchestrated and pulled out by.
So and then who am I?
Inside people.
And what do I know? But my brain went to this. I remember as a kid hearing about this defense system. I don't know if it was talked about or hearsay just to make us feel safe, but I remember they had a defense system. I forgot what it was called, but just in case if like there was a rocket or something that was going to threaten us, that within an hour of them finding out, they can shoot it down, out of the sky,
like autopilot type shit, like not manually doing it, like
So I remember thinking like, well, damn, if these dudes are talking about hijack, why didn't they do something about it? They knew about it for how long? You said an hour it was flying off.
So they had more than enough time to strike it down or shoot it down, but months, like 2 months before 9/11 happened, Dick Cheney removed a certain act, or altered a certain act, which basically denied them approval to shoot down planes, like in like a certain scenario like that. So he Dick Cheney himself and then of course after 9/11 it was changed back to how it was. Okay. But they had a no shoot down order from Dick Cheney at the time.
Before that, they did have something to where if a plane was
2 months before that was when Dick Cheney changed it. Right? And Dick Cheney grossed, after all this whole every incident that came from 9/11, Dick Cheney grossed over $70 billion from things that inspired or conspired from the results of 9/11 happening.
I think I also heard somewhere that like one of the owners of the building, or the owner, I don't know, took out an insurance policy, or made an insurance policy like days or weeks before it happened.
I actually have a little bit about that written
About
down. Silverstein.
$1 billion.
Silverstein. He had insurance policies that he just renewed and revamped. And not only that, he had a meeting that morning at 9/11. He didn't show up for the meeting. His daughter worked in Building 7. She didn't show up for work that day.
Okay.
And he, like you were saying, he grossed fucking several million or billion from the insurance money.
But and again, not to take away, because there's a.
I mean that kind of got it. It kind of has to give you the idea of that somebody knows. If they're not showing up for work and this happens, somebody kind of has to know. And if somebody knows, it's almost like an inside job. Hello, like wake the fuck up.
Absolutely. Again, mad respect, and you know. My heart goes out to the first responders that were there.
The helpers.
A lot of people that lost their lives. But I also seen footage of first responders describing like, oh, you know, I remember a particular group was like in a stairwell, and they said that they were trapped and they were trying to go down. But anyway, they heard an explosion and the whole stairwell fell down. Stories. But like as they were falling, they kept hearing explosions under them.
Yeah.
You know, like
well, they tried to explain that away by saying it was the weight collapsing down and something about like the air that was stuck in there making an explosion sound. Like I heard some weird ass shit that they tried to explain it off. But yeah, multiple there you can just go on, do like a simple YouTube search and you can find multiple firefighters and paramedics saying that were inside Building 7 hearing explosions in different areas, multiple times. It wasn't just one. So and then 20 years later, basically, it ain't really a secret no more. But it's so like, you know, far long ago off for this generation that they really don't care to look into it no more at this point. It doesn't affect me, and it happened almost 20 years ago. Who cares? But honestly, it does affect you
on the deepest level.
All the acts passed, and policies passed from the results of 9/11 affect you every day. Their surveillance, the wiretapping, the rights being taken away. You know, the Patriot Act, the Homegrown Terrorist Act, the government funded like military acts for domestic terrorism and shit. Like, bro,
a lot of shit passed.
There's a lot of shit passed, a lot of laws passed that take your rights away, and then you don't know about it because you walk around and you think you have freedom, but when they choose to invoke these rights and these acts, bro, nigga, martial law. Do what we get quick. Down or lay down, bitch. And that's it.
And so that's just the Twin Towers, and then so you go to Building 7. All right, nothing hit that building, but hours later it collapsed, and it's blocks away from the Trade Center.
And not only did that happen, so the commission put in a charge to investigate this, the 9/11 commission. Not one time did they mention Building 7 in their commission report. Like they just totally ignored it. And when they were reporting their report to the judge, somebody mentioned Building 7 and the judge said, what's that? He didn't even know of a Building 7. He didn't know it got hit. He didn't know it fell. What? It didn't get hit, but he didn't know it fell. He never even. So that's how much like it's kind of being swept. Swept under the carpet and shit, bro. It's fucking wild. Building 7 and the Pentagon really, it gets you questioning everything. And then you got to question the second plane, even the first plane. Honestly, my personal opinion, I think the first plane was done by hijackers.
Okay.
And I don't think the rest were. I think the first plane was done by hijackers, and I think those hijackers were CIA MK Ultra mind control puppets. Just like Sirhan that assassinated Robert Kennedy, he was hypnotized why he assassinated Kennedy, and he has no memory of doing none of it. That's MK Ultra. That's right when all that shit was popping off with MK Ultra, and they like probably perfected their techniques and shit. Probably, but that's MK Ultra mind control. Sirhan, he even used it in his defense for his case. He tried to say that his defense tried to say that he involuntarily slipped into a hypnosis trance.
Okay, that's freaky.
And he was tested by so many doctors from both sides, and they both say his amnesia is legit and he's 100% legit. They also found out that he's in the top 10% of most highly hypnosis type of personalities and shit there is in the world. So there's like a 10% of people that are highly hypnosable, and he falls in there. So
coincidence.
So I think that's what 9/11 was. I think these jackers were definitely sleeper agents from the CIA. And if you think about it, the CIA knew about these supposedly terrorists entering the states and didn't even report it to nobody.
Yeah.
They knew about it and they didn't say nothing about it, which makes you think, were they trying to hire them? Were they working for him? Why not say nothing? Why cover it up? Why lie about the fact that you knew about it too? Which, I mean, the CIA has a fucking history of just doing dirt and fucking lying to everybody about everything. But these motherfuckers knew about the terrorists when they were in the country and didn't say nothing.
Right.
And hey, maybe those hypnosis techniques are perfected and they fucking depatterned these people and
never know,
and implanted whatever the fuck they wanted in these people's head. But to me, it's a little far-fetched, but it could be very possible. The truth is way stranger than fiction, bro.
Stranger.
At the end of the day, the truth is way stranger than fiction.
There's a lot of crazy things that actually go down in this world. So the building 7, that's crazy. Another building that exploded without a plane even crashing into it. And then so the Pentagon, that's a weird one. I believe like the spot that it hit, like there's no, they didn't find the wings for the plane. It created.
They find nothing. They found an engine from one of the towers though, right?
Okay.
From buildings fucking falling and falling and falling and all this destruction, you can find an engine, but in the Pentagon you can't find nothing. You see, if you look it up, you might see small little pictures of like maybe a plane panel. You can't even tell if it's a panel or not, just twisted aluminum or twisted metal, which they try to say is plane debris, but you can't find any object that's whole enough or intact enough to say that came from a plane.
So
it's not there.
So check this out. Now again, I'm not a physicist or I'm not an expert in this field, but still, with my eyes, the shit don't add up to me.
Look at the pictures of the Pentagon.
Yeah.
If you look at the pictures, all the windows around that hit area are still intact.
Oh, right.
Like, and then if you look into it, they'll try to say, oh, they're blast resistance. No, they're not. That part of the Pentagon was under construction because people were there installing blast resistant material that hasn't not yet made it there. They were working on another area first. And they moved the area. They moved a specific area right into the path of where that plane hit, and that specific area was an accounting office where they were trying to account for the $2.3 trillion that was announced missing the day before. And all of a sudden, where these people are working on trying to find this 2.3 trillion missing money, they get hit by a plane supposedly on that side of the Pentagon, and 48 out of the 50 workers die.
That's wild.
And the whole compartment is basically wiped.
So again, the Pentagon is not a tall building. It's a very short, but how many stories? 1, 2?
No. I would say 5.
Okay.
But I would say it goes like 20 underground.
Okay.
Or 15 maybe,
so
some shit like that.
The upper layer of the Pentagon is only 5 stories tall. So they got this plane to pull these crazy maneuvers to fly like parallel, low with the ground, and crash right into the Pentagon. Now, supposedly,
go ahead, keep
the pilots, the hijackers, didn't even complete pilot school. So how someone who didn't complete pilot school, couldn't pass pilot school, pull off these expert maneuvers with not stunt planes, not jets? But,
all right. So I'm gonna comment on that because I actually have a few notes that that I actually made about that because it's just mind-boggling. It doesn't make any fucking sense. So I'm gonna read a few notes that I wrote. But let me find this part about that it's talking about the maneuvers they had to pull off.
But yeah, again, I'm no expert, but that shit just didn't add up to me again. All
right, I'm just gonna read this paragraph because those stats and the information on what they did is kind of infused in it. But so that day 19 men with box cutters, directed by a man with that was on dialysis in a cave halfway around the world, using a cell phone and a laptop, directed the most sophisticated penetration on the most heavily defensed airspace in the world. And we're talking about the Pentagon. Right? overpowering all the passengers and military trained pilots on 4 commercial airliners, 4 of them, right? And then then flying those planes wildly off course for over an hour and a half without even being bothered by any jet fighters. The news depicted these 19 hijackers as drug intake, drinking, living with strippers, living a wild life, but they were also devout religious fundamentalists.
Don't add up.
So yeah, it doesn't, none of that shit adds up. And with the Pentagon, you have a pilot that couldn't pass the average flight assessment, but managed to turn a Boeing 727 in an 8,000 foot descent, 270 degree corkscrew circle to come directly level with the ground, hitting the Pentagon.
Again, I'm no expert.
Like I was saying, in the office where they were looking for the $2.3 trillion dollars.
But I played Flight Simulator a couple times, bruh, and that's hard maneuver right there. You ain't just doing that without finishing flight school. That's hours and hours and hours of training. But anyway, yeah, it's like, man, this shit just don't add up. It does not add up.
And then, like we were saying, the no black boxes were ever found, but you can find a passport.
How, Sway?
If you go back to the Twin Towers, they actually, first of all, the steel was carried off and shipped off to Asia before they even did any test on it to see if there was any residue from blast explosions or anything. But what they did find in the dust was thermatic nanoparticle dust, explosion dust that it wasn't activated, like it was still there, that could explode, or if the certain temperatures were right. So there was fucking thermatic nano blast particles and shit
why the fire lasted
in the
so
building.
long.
Yeah, they probably encoded it, and they were saying that there was construction going on inside those buildings like few days prior. Maybe they had people coming in recoating the inside of the structure with this fucking nano fucking thermatic,
never know, man,
fucking explosion dust and shit. Like, look into it. That's a real thing that they actually found, and they found it in multiple dust samples from Ground Zero.
That's wild.
It wasn't just like a contained, thing that we got lucky and found this. No, they found it in multiple samples. So,
and then
that's wild alone.
So that's all the buildings right there. So none of that shit adds up. Nothing. And then we go to the Bin Laden guy. Supposedly, from what they tell us, this dude had liver dialysis. If you know anybody on liver dialysis, aren't they? They're dying. They're slowly dying, right? So you're not the healthy.
I mean, my opinion is, or more than likely, yeah, he's in a cave and he's on liver dialysis for sure. I mean, he's rich and he probably got what he needs, but at that point,
I'm just saying the story that don't add up. Like, how
in my eyes, he wasn't even alive at that point. They're chasing a ghost. He been dead. Right. They're just chasing his image. Right. They knew that he died. Let's put this on him. Let's chase his image. Yeah. It could perpetuate a war, and we can pass all these laws and acts that take the Americans' rights away. To further their control grip that they have on us. And it's like we were saying, it's like open season for the Middle East for like never-ending wars which we've been in war since 9/11.
Since.
And it's like, all right, we killed Saddam Hussein.
Right.
We killed, Bin Laden, which there was intel given directly to President Bush telling him that Saddam Hussein Iraq had nothing to do with these attacks.
Yeah.
But no,
fuck him, get him anyway.
He pursued him and he got him anyway. Yeah. So I mean,
it doesn't add up, people.
Start questioning who made the most money off of this shit.
Right.
Start questioning. First off, yeah, you got to question who profited the most, and then once you got to start questioning all the dialogue that don't add up and makes you just the simple shit that you can think like, yeah, right, 19 hijackers. 4 commercial planes, all of their plans went off perfect. Only one crashed because people tried to
Again, I'm not taking nothing away from anybody who lost anybody, because I know people who lost a relative in a building. I don't know anybody who lost someone from the flights personally, but if a nigga is trying to take over a plane that I'm on with a box cutter, I'm no Superman, I'm no He-Man. But I'm not about to fucking die.
I'm not gonna die at your hands on your cost.
You can cut me the fuck up with a box cutter. I'll take it.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll take that ouchie
whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen, but you ain't fucking getting shit done through here. They got through the cockpit, bro. There's a lot of questionable shit. Not only that, the the official reports say that there was no explosives used in the Tower 7 falling, which it fell 7 hours after the first tower was hit.
Feared.
You got 19 guys that fucking with 2 planes knocked down 3 buildings.
Right.
And then so the official report was saying there was no explosives used in the collapse of building 7.
Right.
But it was also scientifically proven that building 7 experienced 105 feet of free fall. So for those viewers that don't know what free fall means, if you have like a basketball and you're standing on the top of building 7 and you drop the basketball over the edge, that means the top of building 7 will land at the exact same time that basketball did.
Right.
Right? First of all, that doesn't happen naturally.
No.
Second of all, the building collapsed where it collapsed into itself in its center. It collapsed into the mass of the building, which naturally buildings don't do that.
That alone looks like a controlled demolition, and you can Google and look up controlled demolitions, tall buildings all around the world, and you'll see how they fall in themselves and fall straight down. And then go and watch the 9/11 footage, and you'll see that those buildings fell exactly the same way. Not a coincidence. A plane didn't do that shit. Sorry.
Yeah, because it collapsed into its mass, which, I mean, in the scientific world, like, you know, laws and shit like that, it doesn't happen that way. It's unnatural in a science world or a scientific point of view,
right,
that these buildings will collapse into its most, you know, mass area there. So it's like it either was bombs going off, which more than likely that's what happened, because that's what's explained by all the witnesses, firefighters, EMTs, everybody alike explains bombs going off. And not only that, if you don't know how easy it is to hook up some C4 to some shit, just go and look. Yeah. Like, you can literally get a little package this long and about that thin and just peel it off and stick it right there on the wall. And I mean, it could probably weigh like 2 pounds, maybe a pound. That's and wild. You can go through the course of a day. You can line a whole building with that shit. That's go to wild. Every floor. Takes you 5 minutes to go to a fucking maintenance area inside the building or whatever. You know, like inside the internal structure of the building, and just start fucking putting them shits up there.
It's a possibility. I mean, I don't know, but I've heard some people saying that like FEMA was in the building. I don't know if it was the night before, but a couple nights before, running drills and all types of shit like that. Like, never know. And
what another thing that's suspicious is that, first, like we were saying, the military, the U.S. military had more than enough time to respond.
Right.
All right. And then you have so much time to respond, but they were running war games and simulations at that same time that almost made it impossible for them to respond.
Really?
Like, they sent out 2 jets to the towers, but it got there like 2 to 3, 4 minutes like after the second plane hit. So these exercises and these war games that they were running literally put them seconds out the reach of getting there and being able to do anything about it. And not only that, the war game exercises that they were running were based off of plane hijacks. So it's like, bro, are you fucking kidding me right now?
And Osama knew that. Huh?
Like, you can add that shit up. Like,
Osama
bro,
was like, on this day they're going to have. Oh, that was a Russian. Damn, my bad. I just made Osama Russian. But yeah, so he knew that they was gonna do
and I mean, honestly,
war games
with Saddam Hussein gone and with Bin Laden gone, who's the enemy now, right? Before that, there wasn't one, right? They hate our freedom. That was the official report from 9/11. The reason why that they attacked us, because they hate our freedom for the most part. Yeah, sure. That's it. All right, so they hate our freedom, but there was no Al Qaeda until the CIA created Al Qaeda, right? But they hate our freedom, right? But we killed Bin Laden, and we killed Saddam Hussein, and now we have military posts in Iraq. We have military posts in Afghanistan, and both of those are surrounded. What they surround? Iran. That's the next place we're fucking going into is Iran. So we got all these military outposts and sucking up all these people's resources, all their oil and gas, and where they're fucking digging up $1 billion that were planted in the fucking deserts and shit out there, keeping that shit. Like, war is a costly business, right? And that's the only reason we're still in war right now. We might seem like it don't bother us, and people live their natural day naturally without speaking about it, because most of my nieces and nephews were born into war. They don't know it. They don't realize it because it doesn't affect us every day, but they were born into a war. We have been in a war going on 20 years. And this is the reason why we've been in a war for 20 years, because war is money. It makes revenue. And so we killed bin Laden. We killed Saddam Hussein after we created Al-Qaeda. There's no enemy now. So what do we do to keep these war going? Okay. Let's have Obama help create ISIS. Now we got something else to fight, and it's always going to be something created probably by us, or help created by us, like the rebels in Syria that we armed and we gave. There's always going to be something that's going to end up that we created, whether they hate us or not. But we can make it in our media. We can make it look like they hate us. We can run false flag operations to get us to, all right, let's go attack them then. Nobody was gonna go into none of those countries before that shit happened. But when that happened, unknowingly, what happened at the time, let's go to this country. But it was so crazy that, fucking TMZ knew within 30 minutes who fucking did it, right? But it wasn't an inside job. All the news reporters were reporting within an hour who did it and where it came from. Right. The administration, the presidents was reporting within that day where it came from. Right. You tell me you got your info that quick, but you didn't know none of this shit was about to happen, and you couldn't do nothing about it? The fuck out of here.
So let's go into that whole, what do you feel about, like, I guess they call it predictive programming, where, like, you seen, like, I don't know, like on an episode where they predicted that 9/11 was going to happen years before it actually happened.
Oh, the Simpsons.
Yeah, that famous Simpsons episode.
Yeah, there was supposedly Simpsons predict a few things, but I mean they predicted the tablet. They had somebody with a tablet, like FaceTiming somebody on a tablet in the 90s and shit.
There's a couple things you could question, but that 9/11 thing, like
the Trump winning the president thing they had on there. And it was exactly the same. Somebody dropped a sign. Somebody dropped a sign in real life. But the thing is here's my thing with this shit. I don't remember these cartoons. I was a big Simpsons fan, and I watched them in the movies, but I don't remember those episodes. So maybe they're producing them now, putting them out, trying to make them seem relevant because the Simpsons fell off.
That Trump one, I think
everybody wants to say that's older, but
I think they've debunked.
It was debunked.
That the Trump one came out after.
Yeah, that was my whole theory on it, and I didn't even know that.
You can go back and look it up. Like there's a few one like
I mean, all right. So I should have checked into it more, but there's a lot of movies that reference 9/11. All right, The Matrix with Keanu Reeves. I'm talking about before 9/11.
Yeah, The Matrix on Keanu Reeves' license.
So his license expiration date it was September 11, 2001.
Yep.
And there's also a movie with Mel Gibson and Julia Roberts called Conspiracy Theory.
Oh yeah.
And it's based about MK Ultra mind control, CIA's MK Ultra mind control programs and shit like that. But at the beginning of that building, he's in a taxi, I believe, and it starts off showing the credit, and you're looking at the rear window of the taxi, and in reflection of that taxi window, there's like a two tower image or something where it says 9/11 on the bottom. Like, yeah, bro. And there, you can go, if you really look into like the movies, like they tell you about a lot of shit before it happens. Like we were talking about earlier. Like, what we used to say is, science fiction in movies is become science fact now. Right. Like, 15 years ago, Armageddon, they were trying to land on an asteroid going through the galaxy. A few years ago, we landed a rover on an asteroid going through the galaxy.
Making moves, baby.
So, I mean, the shit's becoming science fact. So it's only a matter of time, I guess, before the shit gets there, until everything can unfold. But, back to the 9/11 and the official bullshit that they fed us.
Yeah.
Spoon fed us every step of the way.
Yeah, I mean, it's creepy to think about that people knew about it, but then you even have Supposedly, you remember on the back of was it the $20 bill that you could fold it up and see the buildings falling and shit like that?
Yeah, the $20 bill had an image. Even the newer ones, like the $50 bills, when you fold it up, it looks like a nuclear explosion on it. And maybe that's people. That's because we're in that era, or maybe that's people just. I gotta look up who designs the money and see what kind of life they lived and where the fuck they came from and why they designed it that way. But that'd be interesting.
If it was an inside job, obviously people were in the know, and if people were in the know, maybe they would want to tell people like, "Hey, this is gonna happen, guys." I don't know. You would think they would try to tell people, but why wouldn't they tell the 9/11 Commission when they were investigating that shit? They were lied to by the government. It was delayed. It was underfunded. It was a conflict of interest. And that shit was basically set up to fail from the beginning. Right.
And they got no truth from, like I was saying, government's administration, FBI, CIA. They got no truth. So,
and again,
I mean, why not reveal aliens if you're going to reveal some shit? Like, all right, we already know 9/11. Y'all did some shit. Y'all were involved in some type of way. But really, we rather know about aliens. Let us fucking know.
Oh, hey, hold on. That's about to come up too, ain't it? They're storming Area 51 shortly, ain't it? Is this month?
Supposedly, it's a couple days away, but they took that algorithm out of social media, so you don't see that shit no more. I heard somebody post a post like, "Yo, what happened with the Area 51?"
Shut up.
And I commented, I was like, "Yo, they took that shit out the algorithm. They don't want nobody waking up."
Popeye's chicken fucked that one up, or something else did. I don't know, but yeah, they forgot about it. But it's coming up, niggas. So do it.
Yeah,
I want to see what the fuck.
So I mean, it's wild because what was it? Flight 92 that crashed.
Into
that they fought back or whatever.
Yeah.
And was there even remnants, any pictures of that whole plane like intact or no?
No,
I'm not sure.
So. I don't think they found bodies or anything from these planes. That's just weird. They don't add up.
Yeah, you would think a body. Well, I think I heard a report of one person. I forgot who the fuck it was, but somebody that worked, I think at the Pentagon or somewhere, says that they were there picking up. That they picked up clothing material and body parts. But I think it was the employees of the Pentagon, not people from supposedly the plane.
Oh, okay.
So, but I don't know. I mean, if you look at Aaliyah's plane crash, they didn't have a body, but they had her skeleton burnt to a seat and shit. Like, like somebody's got to have some kind of...
I don't know. I'm not into forensics, bruh, but the shit don't add up, man.
Yeah, you don't fucking gotta be into forensics to know this shit don't add up. You just gotta have a little fucking common sense. And just look at it openly without believing the narrative that the government feeds you. Question the shit yourself, analyze it yourself, and then you ain't even got to put two to two together. As you're reading it, you can tell it don't make sense.
So out of all this obvious shit that somebody is behind, that it wasn't besides the hijackers that they said did it, like then that fucking makes you wonder, like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, why? Okay, even if it's an insurance thing, like, damn, I think it was kill thousands of people for fucking money. Like, fuck your lives.
They did it for multiple things. Like I was saying, never ending control on the American people.
Sure, yeah.
Never ending war in the Middle East because we're still in war.
Yeah.
All right, this war is a show, and it's just being prolonged to keep the money. That's why they do it.
I get that, and it makes sense.
World control means more than the money to them. It's like world control and then money, but you ask why they do it. That's why they're doing it right there.
It makes sense that, like, all right, if you're trying to stay in power, you're going to do some shit. But, like, damn, just sit back and think, like, your life, they really, like, give... Like, make decisions like that. It's more than obvious that they give two shits about our fucking lives.
For sure.
It's crazy. Like, we're disposable, bro.
The government don't give a fuck about... If you ain't part of that 2%, the government really gives two fuck about you.
That's the mind-boggling part. Like, how disposable we are.
They farm humans. That's all they do. They farm humans, right? And we're still slaves because they farm humans. They farm slaves is what they do, right? They farm human slaves.
Yeah, that goes to the whole birth certificate and
this is how they farm human slaves. Because first of all, if you have a farm and which this reminds me of an EIEIO story, which EIEIO means 666. It adds up 1 and 5, 1 and 5, 1 and 5, 666. So every time you sing a little, old McDonald had a farm, you're singing 666 to your kids. And not only that, look at other fucking lullabies from kids.
They're dark.
Look, I mean, they're fucking crazy. Rockabye Baby on a treetop. Yeah. Who the fuck is gonna rock their baby on a treetop? If the wind blows, the cradle will rock.
Fuck that little nigga. I ain't want him anyway.
This shit is dark.
Abortion right
this shit is dark, bro.
Late term
so
abortion.
You gotta question everything. Look at the old Disney posters. Look at their castle. There's a fucking dick drawn into the castle. A dick head on the castle and everything. Like, bro. These people are sick fuck. There's 666 in the Disney logo alone. 666. You can find it in everything. The Monster drink, Roman numeral or Hebrew 666. You find it in fucking Taco Bell sign 666. Yeah. You can find it in fucking Marlboro cigarettes. What do you think 666
means the devil though?
I think clearly somebody made 666 synonymous with the devil or with evil. So every time you think of 666, you think of the devil or you think of evil. But there's when you think of geometrics, that's how far the sun is from us, 666,000 miles. And there's a few other things that you measure will add to 666. I think maybe smart people knew that back then and probably implemented it maybe for their benefit to control or whatever.
Keep away from it. I think that's why we tie it in with the devil. I think because whatever's really behind that, it's like the boogeyman. If you you don't want to know nothing about that, that's the devil work right there. So that keeps us away from fucking really trying to figure out what the fuck they talking about.
They had us so control in the 50s, 60s, and 70s with that's the devil music and that's the devil this. Why you think in fucking Waterboy his mom's always like, and that's the devil and that's the devil and that girl's the devil? Like, bro, come on. And not only that, think about fucking Day After Tomorrow. That movie dropped like 15 years ago, right?
Right.
In that movie, I was watching it the other day. There's a part where like everything's flooding and there's somebody with a helicopter and he's like, my God, they're down there taking pictures and filming it like they're about to die. Like, and it makes me think that's what we're doing now.
Absolutely.
So it's like, bro, they're putting hints and clues and shit like that in the movies and you connect it once you look back and you watch them. You're like, oh, how similar, how that corresponds with what's going on today. That shit is just fucking wild, bro.
Sickening.
But they put the shit in the movies because your subconscious picks up on that shit, and most common person don't really understand the subconscious or know about it, so they don't know how this information gets stuck in there. And then once you see it again somewhere else, it activates it, like it wakes it up, and you're like, oh, I remember that now. Like I remember seeing this somewhere. The fucking triangles everywhere and the suns in all the movies. You got like a sun clock or a picture of a sun or these people are still worship pagan gods in fucking Hollywood.
I think that shit just to throw us off to not try to figure out what the fuck is going on. I think we're definitely left out of some shit.
We're out of the loop.
We're out of the loop
on a huge level of things.
So they cover it up in devil, pig, and all that
shit. Make it seem bad. Make it seem bad so you don't like Muhammad Ali said, how come everything good is white and how come everything bad is black? Mm-hmm. Like how they said it. Like, white soft cotton is good, or, the president lives in the White House and you got the White House cigar and you got,
white lies, a little lie.
White lies, a little lie. Yeah. And then what else he say?
Angel cake, devil cake.
Angel cake, devil cake. Little black duckling was a bad duckling. Little ugly duckling was a black duckling. And then if I'm gonna do something bad to you, I'm gonna blackmail you. Like, why couldn't it be white male? White people lie too. Like, and then it just makes you question that shit. And it's like, all right. It makes sense. It's not a coincidence that we know that they try to produce, everything dark to be bad and everything good to be white.
All right.
And then I think, back in the day, that whole Muslim agenda. If you watch every old Chuck Norris movie, he was fighting Muslims.
Oh, bad guys were always Muslims.
Always, bro. That shit's crazy. Think about it now. When you notice it, question it, because there's a reason behind everything. There's a reason behind they were all Muslims in the movies, and there's a reason why they want us to think this about these terrorists, because what they did is they spent 20 years 30 years from the 70s to the 2000s jamming in every movie, every show, Muslims are bad, and then boom, 9/11 happens, Muslims, and we take it in like, oh, you're right. I'm telling you, bro.
I saw a post today online since today's 9/11, like, oh, can we have another 9/12? I guess they were trying to say like the day after everybody came together and was all camaraderie, and I was like, yeah, except for the Muslims. Do you remember how bad people hated Muslims after that?
Nobody would fuck with them. They were scared to come out. Like, bro,
I lived right down the street from a Subway that he wasn't even Muslim. It was an Indian dude. But fuck it, he
was from that area for the most part.
He rocked
the turban,
like a turban.
Yeah,
and they didn't know. I remember they throwing bricks to his fucking windows. Like he had something to do with it.
That's wild.
Yo,
bro.
yeah, I remember that. I remember.
And people are so little minded that do shit like that, and they're so ignorant. They're so uneducated because an educated person wouldn't do something so ignorant. You know.
But also, that was intentionally done. That hate was intentionally
for sure.
put
Hate
there.
crime. Yeah, that hate was installed by your government,
right.
And that's what we're telling you.
So we can, so we don't feel bad about them going over there and doing what the fuck they did.
So it displaces them from like a human level. Like, oh, they're not human, they're terrorists.
Terrorists. Exactly.
So fuck it. Let's fuck some shit up. Fuck their shit up. But nah, if anything, there's only one race, which is the human race, right? And we're all from Earth. And we all got to share this place, and it's not ours. We're borrowing it from our children, our grandchildren that's gonna inherit it after us. So it's theirs, and we're just borrowing it from them. So we gotta, keep up with it, keep it in good shape. Because if you take care of the earth, then Mother Nature is gonna take care of you. The earth provides enough like raw what is the word I'm looking for?
Everything, nigga.
So it produces enough raw resources for every man, woman, and child to live comfortably until the end of time. But you got governments and kings and people that want to hoard those resources and make money off of it because somewhere along the way they were put into this power structure where they have the power to say this and power to do this.
Yep.
And
these same people in power pulled off some bullshit like 9/11. Not bullshit in the sense where it didn't happen, because it happened, but bullshit in the sense that
either way they allowed it to happen. They knew there was reports that they had analysts and shit like that analytics coming in saying that there might be an attack on the Twin Towers via plane hijacking or American attack. They didn't say the Twin Towers, but they said plane hijacking attack. So I mean, what else you gonna attack? And not only that, you got your boy William Cooper, that actually predicted 9/11 and came out and said they're about to blame Osama bin Laden for some crazy shit. They were gonna blame. Yeah. So and then not only that, on 9/11, William Cooper had a warrant issued for his arrest. On September 11th, 2001, he had a warrant issued for his arrest. So 2 months later, and I think it was in November, the cops were serving that warrant on his property and ended up shooting him to death.
Front of his daughter or some shit like that.
Bro, this shit is fucking wild. And that dude tried to wake everybody up on every level possible. He's like the grandfather of being woke. Like he's probably started the term woke, like wake up and shit. Like
I don't know if he started it, but that nigga was definitely on it early. That book, Behold the Pale Horse.
Yeah.
Plug.
Definitely, it's a good read. Check it out.
And he wrote that in the early 90s, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Right? And he predicts a lot of shit that's going down.
The aliens. He talks about JFK assassinations and shit.
I can't say I rock with him about everything. Again,
some of it is a little far fetched, but like we were saying, facts ends up being stranger.
Yeah, but like for him to predict some of the shit that he predicts, like that's eerie.
Yeah.
And
even the 9/11, it solidified him for me for the most part. Like, all right, probably 90% of what he's saying might be on point. Like, but you always got to question everything anyway. So, but yeah, so that's a little bit of William Cooper and his ties to 9/11, and basically probably ultimately ended up leading to his death because they didn't have nothing on him. That guy, they put warrants out for like tax evasion. Like he didn't pay taxes one year, so this guy gets killed because he didn't pay taxes one year. Are you fucking kidding? On his own property? And it was a setup the way they did it. Like they set him up from the get go.
Okay, so I heard he definitely got shot in front of his property on his crib, but I also heard that he answered the door with like a weapon drawn or some shit like that. I don't know, but either way, the nigga was white.
I think I read the official police report, and what it said was he had some property. And I guess his driveway was along maybe a mile or some shit. And he said there was kids, I guess teenagers at the end of his driveway. Not his driveway. You couldn't tell it was a dirt road and like you can't tell it was his driveway, I guess. Right. But I guess there was people in his field and they were kids or some shit, teenage, whatever, setting off fireworks. So he got in his car and he started driving to the end of his driveway. He stopped. He said probably thought because there's some suspicious shit going on. So he puts it in reverse. He starts driving back home. And at that time, like the cops, like as he's getting out of his car, the cops rush up. So supposedly he drove down there with the gun, but I guess he might have opened fired on the cops first and might have killed one of them or some shit like that.
Shit. Okay,
yeah,
well then, you know.
Original.
Okay, well then, okay. So
but yeah,
if
it was.
you kill a cop, they're gonna kill your ass right back.
Yeah, but I don't think they identified themselves as cops. I don't think they were dressed as cops, and could have been a fucking ambush to him. If you're releasing that type of information, you're fucking paranoid for the most part.
For sure, all day.
So
whether it's right or wrong, for sure.
Yeah. So, but
getting attention.
The dude was the grandfather of being woke and shit for the most part.
So do you think that do you think that 9/11 was like a test, or do you think like they're gonna pull something like that off again?
I think 9/11 was the second Pearl Harbor, and I think it was made to be like that. And
deep, you think Pearl Harbor was sort of like the same thing, like an inside?
Oh yeah, for sure. Everybody knows, and then they just repeat it, give it 50, 60 years, and let that generation or two generations die off, and then we'll do it again some other way.
So I got some questions about that too. Like
all that was like a learning process.
Shit came out of nowhere, right? There wasn't kamikaze flights before or after that.
That part.
So like that made me think, and then like, okay, in their culture they do kill themselves, but that's the samurai culture that died out years before fucking Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
So and then it was for honor, not the fucking or dishonor. You killed yourself because
you dishonored.
Yeah, you killed yourself not at the hands of someone else.
Well, you for you to kill yourself they're letting you regain your honor at death by killing yourself.
Right. And that had nothing to do with
the Japanese did that. Yeah, that
had nothing to do with killing yourself.
I like their culture, bro.
The culture
they're so deep,
dope.
bro. And so like there's so much meaningful and shit, like you were saying, like fucking like just it's honorable shit. Like it's nothing like America.
Right. And so the kamikaze shit didn't make sense to me either. Not saying that it didn't happen. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Maybe there was some MK Ultra shit back then too. I don't fucking know. I don't know. But yeah, that's kind of weird. So you saying that was an inside job? That was the first one, Pearl Harbor. That was the kickoff. That didn't kick off World War II. That just got us in there.
Well, that kicked off that nuclear stage, like because we dropped the first nuke after that.
Hiroshima.
Yeah, right. So
Nagasaki or some shit. Nagasaki.
Hiroshima, and then
it was two places. It wasn't just one, right?
I think we dropped the big one on Hiroshima. Nah, I think one was smaller though. I think like the big one hit Hiroshima, and that's like probably did the most damage.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's why it's talked about the most. But I don't know, bro. It's wild though. They set the nuclear shit off, and then basically we were the first ones to use it. Now nobody's allowed to use it no more. Just the power of that shit. Supposedly there's still like that place where they dropped it is still suffering from radiation. They said that radiation area is growing. It's getting bigger, like more contaminated or some shit.
I'm sure that's fucked
I'm like, yeah, y'all done fucked some shit up, and now it's
some real life
unfixable. And now they trying to go to the moon. Now let's get that moon base. Let's go live on a hotel on the moon and shit.
I don't know, man. So that
I think would be a good idea if they put like a low orbit hotel, like in low orbit. Like you could just fly a rocket up there and you stay for like 3 days up there. Like that shit would be dope. That would be dope.
But isn't there like fucking thousands and thousands of satellites in low orbit?
Yeah, but they're all on like different paths. They're not like all on the same orbit.
So okay, the hotel's gonna have to be at a certain orbit. So you can stay on that shit without crashing in and shit. All right.
Yeah, this dude Elon Musk over the next 3 years is about to launch 5,000 satellites in orbit. Talking about free Wi-Fi or some shit for the world. It's something about Wi-Fi for the world, but I think it's like some fucking control, some like mega heart weather control shit, like that fucking movie that they did. Where like the technology satellite is like making it rain. I already think they're controlling fucking hurricanes and producing them anyway. If you ask me, they have weather manipulation because in Vietnam they made it rain for fucking 40 days over there.
I can't say that they.
That's why talking about movies. That's why in fucking Forrest Gump when he was in Vietnam and it just started raining out of nowhere, and then there's a whole dialogue. It was heavy rain, light rain, sideways rain, all that shit. Like
it wasn't a tsunami. It was just fucking them.
Bro, it was the fucking American government making it rain. They
So,
manipulated that weather.
I'm not gonna say that they do it.
That's why it's like got that little fucking dialogue in that movie of why they say it for so long. Like explain that shit. But
So yeah, I'm not saying that they do it, but I definitely will say that they definitely do have the technology that can allow them to do such things.
Oh yeah,
and they admitted to it.
They were even investigating Russia for Hurricane Katrina. Like they directed it
real?
towards us or some shit like that.
I think they're
like, yo, they keep sending hurricanes towards us, and like they started investigating Russia or some shit. I think you can
look up something about like our government, something about our government and weaponizing weather. So they definitely have the capabilities. Now I'm not saying they are,
oh sure,
but they can.
Bro, why not? There was fucking thermetic fucking nano explosive dust in the towers. They can do whatever the fuck they want.
Whatever the fuck they want.
And that was 20 years ago.
That's crazy to think about. That was 20 years ago.
Basically 20 years ago now. I'm saying 20 years ago, but
no, 18 years, round up the next, carry the 20 years. Right?
Yeah, so yeah. Basically 20 years ago.
That's wild.
That's a lifetime ago.
For sure, for some people, yeah.
And that's why I say they was born into war and they don't even know it. Now, if they knew it, there wouldn't be no war. You want to know why? Example, this is what ended the Vietnam War, since we were just talking about it. What ended the Vietnam War was the image of that little 11-year-old girl that was running down the street naked because she took her clothes off because she was burning from napalm. And that image got leaked through the American media, and it got showed over here, and that we instantly like fucking
snapped out of it.
No, we like the American people instantly like protested and rebelled and was like nah, and basically it ended up ending the war. And that's why the media fucking got contracts with the government now on what they can and can't show. Because if they were showing all the shit that's going on in fucking Syria and Iraq and all the kids, everybody getting killed over that shit,
for sure.
People running down the street with their dead 2-year-old in their hands, we wouldn't even be in war right now. It would have fucking ended it before it started.
For sure. Oh, that's a whole nother subject. Yeah, man, that shit is ugly. War is ugly. And like you said, we don't really think about it, especially since we legit been in war for the last 20 years.
Yeah, for sure. Name one year we ain't been in somebody else's country since 2001.
It's so ugly that there's this new thing called, which has been around, but PTSD, or am I saying that right? PTSD? Yeah, PTSD. Like, people are coming back from over there fucked up in the head because of the shit they're seeing and doing.
But it's the American troops that are fucked up.
Yeah.
These other people aren't fucked up. They're not getting fucked up in the head. So you gotta question.
Fucked up.
No, but I mean the ones that you gotta question what they doing that we get fucked up in the head and shit.
Yeah. What are they doing? Yeah. So it's ugly.
Their
shit
whole
going
process
on,
of training and testing and shit like that could be very well some kind of process that kind of breaks your mental or something like that, because there's a bunch of techniques that we don't know about.
Yeah, so you think that this 9/11 shit sparked a lot of hate in people's heart, or not hate, but like
I know one thing that was
after,
I know
did you
one
wanna
thing.
Go to war?
I was young and I really didn't have like a political opinion about it.
It wasn't political,
but I was probably
graduate.
I was super young, so I probably wasn't even thinking about it. Like, wasn't even like looking into it. Like,
what?
And, yeah.
I remember I was a sophomore when it happened. So my junior year and senior year, and I was in ROTC. But a lot of my friends were like joining the military. I remember my friend joined the military.
Oh, y'all was ready to go to war,
yeah,
huh? Nah, I wasn't on nothing like that.
My friend.
My grandfather was in World War II, and my father was in the Vietnam War, and I would say I wouldn't go to war.
I wasn't ready.
One, because I'm the last male born with my father's with my family's last name. I'm the last male born with our last name. So if I don't have kids, our last name dies with me for the most part. So they wouldn't, if I registered into the army, they wouldn't put me in the field where I would be able to die because of that fact. So I wouldn't do a desk job, and I wouldn't fight a war that's a meaningless war that's killing people for no reason anyway. So I ain't never been about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I went. So I was never on like, oh yeah, let's fucking go get him. I was kind of like,
this sparked some
I guess
shit.
doing high school shit.
This real life. Yeah, this is in high school. This real life sparked some shit. Like I was saying, I had a friend who joined he turned 18 his junior year, so he can sign in the military, but he couldn't go to basic until after he finished his senior year.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, he went to basic 2 weeks later. After graduating basic, the nigga died.
Wow.
Yeah, and
Being put in the field.
Yeah.
What?
On a convoy, he got blew up by. I don't remember if.
That's wild. My brother-in-law was in Afghanistan for like 2 years.
Oh,
he was
for
bringing
real?
back like the Fanta cans. He was saying
What
they'd be
year?
eating like 5 years ago. Not even.
Oh, 5 years.
He was saying, or maybe a little bit more, maybe 6, 7. But he was saying, he's younger than me. But he was saying, that they had camel burgers at McDonald's and shit. Like, I'm like, bro, are you kidding me? That shit was wild. Like some of the shit he was saying.
I got a cousin who went.
He's
to
saying
Kuwait.
you're paying like $100 for a cup of Hennessy because like liquor's illegal in those fucking countries and shit.
Muslim countries don't play that. But yeah, I had a cousin who went to Kuwait in 2005. I mean, it was 2004, maybe 2003. That's still only like a year or two after 9/11. But he after coming back from his tour in Kuwait, that nigga went AWOL.
Wow.
Yeah, he was like, nah. He was like, we're doing like crazy shit over here, like fucked up. He was like, I don't even want to be in the army no more. That nigga went AWOL straight up.
He ain't elaborate on what they were doing. Like he ain't
I never
saying.
asked him at the time.
Damn.
Because that
I
was
would've
like,
been like,
I mean,
what?
Ipso facto, he just.
I mean, my brother-in-law, my sister's husband's been in there. When I was in Colorado, he was in Patterson's Air Force Base, and they live. I think they're in Alabama now. He's in a base in Alabama now, but he's kind of like. He would have this conversation with us. He don't like the ideas of the wars.
Right.
He don't like Trump. Like, he don't like the politics and shit. He's kind of like us, but he does it because it's well paid. And I don't think he's in the position where he's over there shooting and killing people. So he don't really.
Yeah, not everybody's doing that.
Yeah, when he was in Afghanistan, he was guarding the general anyway. Like he was up there. So.
Wow. This shit is wild, man. Shit is wild.
Yeah, but I oppose the war. He knows my views on it, and he don't, if it was up to him, he wouldn't. He there wouldn't be no wars if it was like, all right, well, let's end the war. All right, let's end it. Like, but once you're in it, you enter it in the beginning thinking one thing, and then I guess you stay with it for so long because you're already there, and then you moved on to a part where you're not doing what you used to do, so it's not that bad or whatever. But I couldn't do it, but the benefits are great. They get in fucking theme parks. They get everything free from like libraries and shit. Like they go fucking uniforms for free. They can shop on military bases and shit. My sister had a civilian job on a military base one time.
That's what's up,
bro. That shit's wild. All kind of fucking theme parks, free, half off, from theme parks and shit. Like
military discount.
Yeah,
baby.
she just brought them down here before the school year started because they're in Alabama to hit up fucking Adventure Island and Busch Gardens because they're free.
Yeah, free.
Major benefits.
Yeah,
it's the only benefit. Is the major benefits.
The major benefits, the only benefit.
But I don't know. So you can't. I don't know. I feel like I'm good. I don't want to do that. So
yeah, I ain't
like
knocking
the army.
I ain't knocking nobody who makes that choice, but I can't even get into that. That might be too.
I know too much about what that war's for to make a decision to let me go be your tool. But, I mean, most people do it for the career choice, the free college, the free school. Like Juan went to school, went to college, got my brother-in-law. One of my other brother-in-laws that was telling you there's two of them actually. So I wasn't just talking about the same one and shit. The one talking about that, don't like Trump and that will have a conversation with us. It's a black dude that my sister married, and Juan is one that had the camel burgers and shit.
Gotcha.
But yeah, he went to school. They paid for his schooling. They were paying for housings and shit, like helping him with loans, like military loans. Blessings. Yeah. I'm like, what?
My grandfather made a career out of the military. Yeah, for sure. He retired after 21 years. My father retired out the military.
What?
So I got a lot of.
You were like, fuck that. I'm not doing it.
My pops got into a fucking
9/11. You were thinking about it though, huh?
No, I was just in ROTC, so I knew everybody who was doing that shit. But no, I knew I wasn't. No, fuck that. I wasn't joining no military.
So I tell you one thing about 9/11 is for sure. Whatever was going on, it was. There's scientific instruments, like kind of like probes, around the world that like measure vibrations and vibration waves and sound waves and shit like that.
Okay.
And I think it was by accident one time, and it might have been when Princess Diana died. But maybe they were even trying to investigate the collective conscious theory, but didn't really want to tell us that's what it was for. But when you think about it, that's probably what they were doing. Because when Princess Diana died, around the whole world, these instruments got a big spike. Like everybody emotionally was one and was like, whoa. And they said that same shit happened when 9/11 happened, that those instruments spiked. Boom.
That's weird.
And then there's like emotional connection with everybody in the world that kind of felt the same way. That was one person can't stand by this instrument and cry and make it spike. So it's
collective.
It's fucking wild, bro.
So you think that was a fucking like a test, to test this instrument to see like, all right, how these guys gonna react to this?
They were probably testing. They said they stumbled upon it by accident.
Oh, okay.
When an event happened that they noticed it spiked and shit. But I think that it was in place to trigger something like that, to see how it would respond consciously as like globally as a conscious, how it would respond. And they might even orchestrated the death of Princess Diana purposely to get that spike, to see if it would spike, to test it.
You never know.
I don't think it's too far-fetched. I definitely wouldn't say the government wouldn't do that, because I know they probably would do some. After researching fucking MK Ultra and hearing the shit that they did to civilians and mental patients, they absolutely would fucking do something to you in a heartbeat to harm you.
That's the whole shit I'm saying. Just knowing that they don't give a fuck about us, you never know the shit that they're capable of pulling, man. Yeah. I'm sorry, people. You might love your fucking candidates.
So patriotic and shit.
Voting, vote or die. I respect you. I respect all that. But just know them niggas don't give a fuck about you at all. At all.
So my theory about voting, this is what voting does. I don't think voting does anything, right? As far as it doesn't change anything, and it doesn't help you. Because if voting changed anything, they'd probably make that shit illegal. And you wouldn't be able to vote.
Yeah.
So it doesn't change shit.
Theoretically,
but what voting does, and it works for the government. It works for the beneficial. It's beneficial to whoever's in control, whoever's pulling the strings, and this is what they do. So obviously, it's a poll. It's a voting system, and they vote.
Okay.
So what they do is they keep records of the most popular vote.
Okay.
Popular. Who gets the popular vote? Popular. That way, the next term, they have their puppet already in place, and they know what you like because we got your popular votes, and they're gonna put somebody younger, somebody more charismatic, or somebody more appealing. But it was everything you want because your vote said this is what you want, and then they put that person in front of you. So they control and manipulate voting in multiple ways and shit. But so I don't fuck with voting. I don't vote because I think I didn't vote for Bush. I don't think I've ever voted. I don't think I've ever voted since I've been old enough.
You're a horrible civilian.
Right? I should die on death row.
Civil rights, especially me, civil rights and all that shit. But no, seriously, I don't think
voting don't change nothing. You want to bring some change? Go to your council, your city council. Locally,
you probably got some pull.
Go to your city council and your local city council and start signing petitions and getting shit like that. And you want to fucking shut down McDonald's for a day? Just get like 40 people and walk along their sidewalk where their entrance is, back and forth. They just keep walking back and forth. It's not against the law. The cops can't do nothing about it, and neither can McDonald's. And it's on a sidewalk. As long as you're not just standing there, you're walking back and forth.
Look at you.
You can shut down McDonald's for a day, and let's see how much money they miss.
But yeah, to me, it's the same. Two sides of the same coin. Especially when they always do this Democratic Republican shit, even though there's more parties, but it's bullshit to me, man. It's all, I don't know. I don't get down with the get down. Bro.
Yeah, they're all shaking hands and going to lunch with each other after they
it's
fucking.
Like WWE. Oh, excuse me. It ain't WWF no more.
It's a show.
It's
another show for entertainment.
Yeah, brother.
They on a script.
For sure.
It might not be scripted, but they on a script.
Yeah, and 9/11 is what opened my eyes to that. Sadly, but honestly.
That 9/11 is just like, is the biggest wide open cover up that you can tell just from looking. Like, bro,
I mean, people out there are starting to, you know,
wake up to the idea,
but not enough. Not nearly enough people give a damn.
Yeah.
I mean, they're sad. You know, let's remember our lost ones, and I agree with that. Let's do that. But like, go dig in further than that, man. Look into it.
Start looking into the facts, the statistics. Start looking at what temperature, you know, steel melts. Look at what temperature that jet fuel burns at. You know, there's a lot of shit, and if those little things don't add up, then everything else should be questionable.
For sure.
Then you got to question that shit.
For sure.
Especially 9/11, especially events like 9/11, big ass event worldwide. Like the next thing is they're gonna usher in like some aliens. Something's gonna happen soon, because what else can you do?
Think so?
It's either gonna be aliens or a nuclear war. Because what else could happen? What else? What's the next main enemy? The next main threat?
Scary to think about. I think
we done did everything. We done killed the terrorists, killed the leaders.
I think we're on the brink of it. Whatever's about to happen
soon, it's coming. It's like you could feel it. Like, you know,
shit.
You can feel the energy. You can pull that shit out the air. Oh, Phil Collins ass. But yeah, bro, some shit's gonna go down, and I don't know what the next main event is gonna be. Like main life altering or life changing event. But it's gonna have to be nuclear, or it's gonna have to be aliens. If not, I don't see us going into a climate change overnight. I don't see
it could happen.
I don't see us like the poles shifting overnight. Not right now. And you know, flipping, you know, the
solar flare.
Like I don't see none of that shit happening right now.
Apocalypse.
I wish a fucking apocalypse would happen, bro. That'd be so dope.
It just means unveiling. That's all an apocalypse is. But we need an apocalypse.
A zombie apocalypse. A zombie apocalypse would be dope. Bro.
That would be dope.
What?
Practicing. I got
bro, that shit would be fucking awesome. I'm like,
I was just joking.
Bro, I done seen too many zombie movies in preparation for this.
Headshots only. But apocalypse.
Headshots and cardio, bitch. You gotta be able to outrun them, not get tired.
We need an unveiling of the mask so people can wake the fuck up, and you can start here at level 1 woke, people.
Level 1 woke. It's the third eye opening journey.
You need that
intel, because I mean, at the end of the day, your third eye is your pineal gland. No, they say that shit is like cement right now. It's so hard. It's not what it's supposed to be. Huh? Yeah, because of the chloride in the toothpaste and in the water. And why do you think they're chloridizing your water? They're trying to kill you. Why you think GMOs is approved, genetically modified, and it proves it, and they can cause cancer and shit? Like, why you think all this shit is getting approved? Because they trying to kill you. They farm humans. Like I was saying earlier, they farm humans. They farm slaves. You want to know why? Think about the slaves. If they try to say slaves built the pyramids, right? But the thing is about slaves is you can't control a slave's mind. Okay. So eventually they gonna run away, and you can keep beating them, and they gonna run away, and you can keep beating them. But they got smart back then. They did this thousands of years ago. They said, all right, let's give them benefits, basically like a pay.
Yeah.
So now that they're getting something for doing this, they don't mind doing it, right? And then they wanted this temple, and then they wanted this pyramid, and then they wanted this building. So we need more. And we can give them options. You want to do this job, or this job, but you still getting those benefits or that pay. And that's basically the same mentality that they had with the slaves back then is what they have with us.
Slaves.
It's
mental slavery.
Mental slaves. Now they've been enslaving our minds through, bro, the media, through your favorite celebrities, through your music, through the fashion, through commercials, through
people are
control.
Too easily influenced.
Yeah.
People are fed their thoughts.
Well, I think the next big wave is going to be technology. Maybe an artificial type of a technology, but it is going to be technology, and it's going to be some kind of biotechnology where they infuse it with human. Because if you think about it, that's what they're trying to do. Like I've mentioned it before. Like look at the evolution of the phone. It used to be, in a phone booth on a corner, and then it was in your house. Yeah. And then you can get a briefcase phone or put it in your car, right. And now it's in your pocket. And now it's wearable. It's on your watch. It's on your wrist. It's on
it's-
you. It went from being away from you to in your hand, in your pocket all the time, to on you now. So they're trying to put the technology on you. Eventually, that's going to lead to in you. Is my thing. And they're already going towards a paperless society because 93% of the currency in the world is done digitally. Only 3% is held in cash and coins around the world. That's numbers on a keyboard, and if somebody wants to delete it, they fucking can. So they're pushing a cashless society.
Baby.
Once they get that cashless society, everybody's gonna have that. Oh, we getting chipped or whatever the fuck they're gonna try to do.
Chipped. We're talking about
The
phone.
cell phones are the chip. It's the
for real.
current chip, but it's not the ultimate end game for the chips.
Like you said,
It's
they
gonna
can
advance into us. Watch.
Into us? You think
Into
we're
us.
gonna get RFD'd?
They're gonna pull the switch. It's gonna be where they can pull the switch whenever we protest or say something they don't like. They can pull
Zap
the switch
his
and
ass!
fucking surrogate or some shit. Have us living in a surrogate.
I think I just blew my... Yeah, no.
Yeah, you just fucking blew the whole spike off the audio box.
Yeah, my bad. That's what they're gonna do, though. They're gonna zap your ass and blow your shit off the audio box.
Yeah, but that's some. I think technology is gonna get super advanced. I think they're already there, but like everything else that they do, they test it and they make sure it's perfect before they finally start letting us know about it. Government's probably 100 years advanced in technology than we are right now, than what they let out for the public.
I agree with that one.
Like they probably got ridiculous shit. Like I heard they have natural lighting that just something that just like illuminates where there's no light fixtures or nothing like that. Like they're using some kind of technology to bend the light from somewhere or some shit, and it's fucking wild, bro. Like I think that was from like a Bob Lazar story or some shit too, like an Area 51.
I think I heard him mention something like that. Yeah.
And he was saying that there was no shadows in there. The lights gave off no shadow, but he noticed when he went to touch a craft that he had a shadow on the craft, but he said his shadow had a delay. Like he put his hand up and then like a second later, fucking wild. He thought it was like some heat-seeking reflective metal or some shit like that, but he was like, no, this couldn't be like but technology that we don't understand that let's duplicate. And they probably
even if that sounds far-fetched, like the military definitely has technology years before we're able.
For sure.
That's a fact. So
most of the UFOs are probably the government testing technologies and shit, and
possibility.
Maybe not most of them, but some of them for sure.
I'm sure a lot of shit that people see is us.
Yeah, because we're that advanced. The jet fighters we have now is like the most advanced in the world. Like nobody's fucking with us, bro. Like at all. Like that's the only thing. Like if they did something good with that instead of like it being bad. Like, it's a good thing that nobody in the world could fuck with you, just in case something did happen. Like, you know? But, I don't know. There's a lot of remnants of lost civilizations like Atlantis or some shit like that was super advanced, too, and had the technology, too. And that, all right, check this out for a theory, right?
Talk to me.
So, these Anunnakis and these Sumerians, they talk about these Anunnakis, and then a lot of cultures around the world talk about, deities coming with flying crafts and stuff like that or whatnot, coming from the heavens and stuff like that. All right, check this. How about they didn't come from the heavens? How about they came from Atlantis?
Plot twist.
How about Atlantis sank and those advanced humans, those very conscious, woken, advanced technology humans found a new settlement in Africa and Mesopotamia. And now these people that live there, modern Neanderthal man type, Cro-Magnon type man type people look at them in the technology and they must came from the heavens. Literally, they flew across the land though.
Right.
And they but we're so superior in culture and fucking language and shit like that because we're more conscious that they anything that comes here with higher intelligence we're gonna think is a god or some shit or So that same thing with them. They could have been humans that came across the land when their Atlantis sunk or some shit like that. And there's a lot of shit stories to support that shit, bro. Like that's
I know
very, very possible.
That, it is. Why not? I don't know. I'm not what's it called when you're an expert in ancient cultures, but if you listen or hear a lot of the stories, they talk about a race. They call it like the Golden Age or They have multiple words for this, where there was an advanced civilization that was running shit here. Like a lot of the famous sites like Machu Picchu in Peru, even the pyramids in Egypt, the pyramids in Mexico. A lot of the folklore around it is like those shits were ruins. When we give people credit, like we give Mayans credit for the Mayan pyramids and the Mayan ruins, but the Mayans say that this shit was ruins when we got here. We don't know how to fucking get here. And a lot
of them say, you know, those gods or those people that come from the heavens did this or whatever.
Sure, but there was an intelligent race living on Earth a long time ago.
That could be proof of that for sure.
So maybe like to go along with your story, like Atlantis, there was intelligent people that lived there. Some natural catastrophe went down, lost a lot of the fucking knowledge that they had on that, you know.
And not only that, the way that all these megalithic structures are built on like ley lines
is weird,
and they're so massively heavy, and maybe it's kind of has some kind of pull on some kind of effect on the Earth's axis or the wobble. Who knows? Or any crazy thing like that.
Who fucking knows?
I heard a story that they could be like Merkabox and shit. Like
Merkabas?
Nah.
What's a Merkabox? I know what a Merkaba is. I don't know what a
Merkabah is like a synthetic way to synthetically like transform from one place to another, like morph somewhere else and shit. Like you can create a Merkabah and you can like travel through space or some shit.
Okay, dope.
But supposedly, I mean that shit's far fetched. I don't believe that.
Man.
But I mean, bro, with the pyramids and you got them on how you got pyramids on almost every continent.
Almost every continent, real talk. And then supposedly there's
how you got pyramids underwater.
Antarctica.
You got pyramids under Japan. Under Japan, you got a whole city sunken in Japan. Mad statues. You got pyramids by the Bermuda Triangle underwater. I mean, all right, it makes sense for pyramids to be on water. I mean, did these people come from the water? Is that why they build all their instruction and their building and the civilization is next to water? Did they not know it could rise and flood them out? Like it's I mean, yeah, water is life and shit like that, but really that close to the water?
So if you ask me, and remember I want to talk about pyramids, but if you ask me, a lot of these pyramid structures do have like an aqueduct, a water system underneath.
Aqueduct.
Yeah, underneath the pyramid structure. So whatever the pyramid purpose was used
there used to be water around the pyramid, like rivers and shit around that area.
So if they're smart enough to not only build the pyramid and smart enough to know that they need the water underneath, you think they'd be smart enough to know that the fucking water level's gonna rise. So I think something happened like instantly, maybe a comet. Nuclear war that they talk about in a lot of ancient cultures.
Greg Hancock, he likes to say a comet hit a big ass ice shield over like the northern hemisphere and shit.
Graham Hancock is that's my G right there. I
fuck with that dude.
Yeah, he's got a lot. He's just a journalist, but he talks to these fucking archaeologists and historians, and he talks to these people who do put in the work, and his conclusions are dope. And basically, is that we're fucking lied to. Besides that, we're lied to. That also
he thinks civilization began in America too, simultaneously as it did in Africa.
Why not? I don't know.
I know they found Homo erectus skeletons in Georgia that go back like 2.5 million years or some shit. So there was Homo erectus here going on 2.5 million years. Now, when they first found the first Homo erectus, it was Lucy, and she was 3 million years old. They found her in Africa. But you got something that's the same, just about the same 3 million years old in America too, though, at the same time. So life could simultaneously be evolving everywhere at the same time, or everything could have been together like Pangea, and then, you know, life spread out, and then the pole shift, whatever happened, and everything separated. Because everything's hard to explain. All like the cause for all the different languages, why all the languages split. I mean, it makes sense when you think about how to get another language and how they tie into other languages and shit, but or how they come from another language, or they're derived from another language. It's like
But that's from what we know. Imagine all the dead languages that we don't fucking know.
All
like
the
how maybe
all the tongue languages where you speak in tongues and those vibrations like have have an effect over the ether around you.
Even ancient Hebrew supposedly certain words you say carry a vibration.
Yep.
So
and that's why that's why when they called the Messiah Yeshua, I think his name was first Yahshua, which they said was too holy for people to speak, so they changed it to Yeshua. So everything since the Hebrews changed the Messiah's name from Yeshua to Yeshua, everything else after that's been a mistranslation, just like Insus or Isus, Jesus, Jesus.
But even
Hail Zeus.
even to create a language that supposedly has power in the words that you speak, like that's intelligent. That's
design. That's mathematics.
So I think
that's a lot of shit.
I ride with that story. I think that we were a smart people. A lot of people put it off to the aliens. I'm not saying aliens don't exist. I'm not saying that aliens didn't.
We were the aliens, big. Get it straight.
I think we were that intelligent people that
maybe they guided us, because it's William Cooper talked about the American government being in contact with aliens for over 200 years. And when they first came here, he said their reason was to help us evolve consciously, that we were not up to the speed that we should have been or something.
We're not listening.
Clearly not. We didn't.
We suck dick as a human race. I think we're in shambles, man. I think we need that apocalypse. I think we do need an unveiling. I think people need to be woke. For real.
That's those Anunnakis that control and manipulate the royal bloodlines that control the nobility and rule the earth.
You think so? I don't know.
But then again, those Anunnaki could have been an advanced human from another land that just flew over there, and they said, "Oh, before we had rockets that can go into space, we had planes that could take us to another land, right? And we had helicopters before that." So imagine them explaining different flying things.
For sure.
And then as the years go by, 2,000 years pass, you can hear the advancements in the writing of these spacecrafts. In these ancient writings, they say, "Oh, they made noise," and then 1,000 years later, in their text, they're quiet and they're just hovering with they're silent. So to me, that's the evolution of their technology evolving in the stories.
Oh shit! Yeah, you going deep, man. I ain't never pay attention like that. Look at that.
Gotta pay attention to the details.
So you saying the Anunnaki did 9/11? Is what you saying?
Ooh, they did that.
That's funny. Not funny. That's not a funny matter, but oh man, for sure.
The Anunnaki part was funny, not the 9/11 part. But yeah, no, I mean, the shit's wild, and the story, the true story of everything is so twisted that we'll probably never get the official story. Like, you can't believe in like Christian and the devil, because the devil's story is written out. He knows he's gonna lose. So what the hell are you gonna go and do everything in the book says, even though you already know the book is right there?
Right.
Like, you're gonna lose. It's written in the book. Like, man, that shit sounds so fucking stupid, bro. Like, come on.
Yeah,
like, so you're gonna go ahead and do it anyways? You're gonna lose, right? Like, hello, it's not written for you to win. Why try it? Go do something else, buddy.
I like the odds.
That shit's all about control.
Yeah, for sure.
They said I couldn't get 1/3 of the angels to rebel, but I did.
So you, all right?
Aliens, bro.
Aliens.
When you first came, when you flew, because I think it was one of the original sons of Anu left Nibiru because their solar system was slowly eroding and shit, and he came to Earth, and I guess he found gold, like nanoparticle gold, like nano dust gold, the white gold that they put like in the windows of your Rolls Royce and shit like that. It's a natural light reflector and heat reflector, so they use it for the sun. And that's what the Anunnaki needed to do for their atmospheres, put this up there so they could use it or whatever. And yeah, man, one of them bounced and like landed here, and it was like his son like challenged the like the king that was their ruler, and the shit's wild. But at the end of the day, like, if the shit was real and they actually came down here, their bloodline is still here for sure. And which it might not have been them coming down. I'm telling you, it might have been us flying from another part of the world over there and just finding less civilized people that evolved slower than us, or that was still evolving. There's proof that there was multiple different humans evolve on that earth on different times. You got the dwarfs on Dwarf Island. You got Neanderthals. You got Cro-Magnon type man, Afarensis, Homo erectus.
There's a lot of different type of people out there for sure.
So it's never leave that, you know, that idea out, that question out.
But what you're saying is that their bloodline is still running around running shit.
Yeah, I think it's the Merovingians Merovingians was part of their bloodline. Jesus might have been part of it. If you start looking at the end of the Sumerian kings list, it parallels like biblical kings list.
Oh, yeah.
And Sumerians talk about Abraham, the biblical Abraham. Bro, Sumerians talk about everything that happened in Eden. They called it Eden, but it was their Garden of Eden, and it was in Mesopotamia. It was Iraq, so that's where the Garden of Eden from the Bible was from, Iraq.
Yeah,
all that shit's Mesopotamian text. All of it's Sumerian text. And they talk about every little biblical thing you can ever fucking think of in the Bible is straight from the Sumerians.
But that's just
the Christian Bible, the King James version. Like the stories of Moses and the story of Noah's Ark and the Adam and Eve and, you know, the Eden, all that's Mesopotamia. All the Gospels are fake.
That. Huh? All the Gospels are saying. So then you agree with that, but you just think that the source is different. It's not God, it's the Anunnaki that they're talking about.
I don't agree with everything that they say, but I think if somebody took the time to write it down, and not many people could write and shit back then, that I think it has some kind of truth to it, and it's significant for sure.
There's definitely a lot of religions and cultures that match with that, but there's a lot of older, different religions and cultures that don't talk shit about them niggas either.
About who?
Like the Anunnaki,
well, they don't talk about it, but they tell stories that came from the Anunnaki, like sure. the flood, the deluge is recorded in every major civilization around the world, and that story was first told by Sumeria, by the Sumers, and the Epic of Gilgamesh. And not only that, they break down the percentage on how closely there was somebody constructed by the gods, him and his family. They built an ark, they survived, they had a fucking bird fly with an olive tree. They landed on a mountain. That same dialogue parallels.
Yeah, they have that.
So
I'm not taking that away. There's a lot of cultures that share the similar story, and
most of the old ancient ones tell that story.
Right next door to Mesopotamia, you got these Indian guys with their Hinduism and their the Buddhism, and these religions are just as old.
I think the first language was Sumerian, like cuneiform, and I think the second language was Aramaic before. Was it, you want to say like Indian or some shit? But I know Aramaic was before like Greek was Aramaic, and then Latin, and then all the other languages started springing off. But
that may be so for the last 10,000 years. I'm not taking nothing away from that. But I strongly believe, like we were just talking about, there was a civilization before that was way more advanced than we are now. And we lost a lot of that proof of that civilization.
You think we all spoke the same language?
No,
there was all different languages. You think that highly advanced civilization and they all spoke different languages?
Yeah.
I think we all spoke the same language, and I think we were harmonizing on like the same frequencies, and that's what consciously was waking us up, was that, not the separation by languages and cultures and everything else we have that separates us nowadays. You can change the biology of a person. If you make them a slave and this is what they do every day, the biology literally changes in their brain of this is what they're supposed to do. So imagine throwing people in a certain area and say, this is what you're supposed to do. 10,000 years later, they look Chinese from doing this and staying in that land, or, you know, Caribbean from doing this and staying down in that area. So the biology of the human body will change depending on what the information is being fed, the area, all that shit.
Yeah. I don't know, but we're that's off of our perception of how we understand how civilizations and shit work. I think these niggas was way more advanced. I don't know, maybe they didn't even
I do too, but like I was saying,
maybe
I think we were on
telepathically.
Maybe, but even though we were all doing the same thing, I don't think we were separate. I think for us to hit that high of a conscious, there has to be like a togetherness, and it has to be like a collective consciousness.
There's sort of proof of that, like you saw, this shit that's built on ley lines. But pyramid temple complexes in almost every continent. Yeah, it's fucking sure they're probably on some type of.
But a lot of those were based off of the worship of sun gods. A lot of those.
That's what we're taught. That's.
I mean, they're lined up in such ways. Our religion are based off sun gods, not our religion, but people's religion.
Yeah,
like they're based. They go back to Sumerian texts, which even in Sumeria, it goes back to older Sumeria, which they're talking about celestial bodies and shit.
I mean, Sumer. Yeah, but again, that's based off of somebody saying that those pyramids are only 6,000 years old. I'm talking about like, all right, if somebody built them 100,000 years ago, how do we know they were fucking worshiping sun god? That's speculation.
Well, the Sumerian tablets say
that the Mayans were worshiping.
No, they were saying that these ideas of gods were celestial bodies. They were the moon, they were Venus, like, and they relate to them, and it's been broken down, and you can tell how they're calling this one and this god is this, but they're really talking about Venus, and there's ways that you can tell, and it's been like broken down if you look for it. The information's out there. But yeah, they were talking about celestial bodies and shit. They were talking about, and then that translated into them actually talking about, gods and this and that, and then that it just filters down from there. Cultures? What do you mean?
Who you said who's talking about? You said they're talking about celestial beings.
Sumerians.
So Anunnaki was a celestial. These guys were celestial beings, not physical beings. Anu, Anki, and Lil.
And some of the stories they were. Some of these stories are contradicting. Some of them they were. Some of them they spoke of two different races. They spoke of the Agigi and the Anunnaki. And some of the texts, Agigi was doing the work for the Anunnaki like slaves. And in some of the other texts, the Agigi were equal to the Anunnaki. So that's why scholars are like, nah, the stories are just bullshit because they're contradicting. But like I'm saying, if you take them from a different standpoint and look at it, look at the African Americans' history in America. It's not the same as it was 200 years ago, right? 400 years ago, they were slaves. Now they're free people. Now they're spoken of in the same sense of the way everybody else was spoken of back then. Just like you would say, the Anunnaki.
Huh?
So it's just spoken of. All right. So hold on. Light this up.
Light this shit. All right. I hear you. And then.
So this is damn. I was trying to make a point on how the story changed. Of the Gigi being equal or non-equal. Some stories they're equal. Some stories they're not equal. That's just like if you read the African American story. Some stories they're gonna be equal to us, and some stories they're not going to be equal to us. They're going to be slaves. So if you take their story from 200, 400 years ago, they're slaves. If you take their story now, they're equal. Just like at one point the Gigi could have been slaves and they could have got their freedom. And then at other points in the stories, they're equals because those stories were documented thousands of years later. Who knows? So it's not like, they're wrong. It's about how far apart were these tablets created or these stories written. So maybe, 6,000 BC, they're slaves to the Anunnaki, but a couple hundred years later, they win their freedom, and now at the new texts that are being written, they're equal with the Anunnaki now, or whoever. So that could be looked around the world. Like women, they have rights now, they're equal now, but if you take their story from a few hundred years ago, they didn't have rights, they weren't equal. So it's all about the perspective on where you're looking at it from. But I don't know. It's all arguable. The only thing that's not arguable is the facts. So.
And they did 9/11.
They did that. Is not the same ones that did the pyramids though. Even though they got the pyramids on their money, which is wild. Why have the pyramids though?
Oh shit, that's a whole nother topic. I think that's some secret shit that they don't want you to know about.
And isn't our money
with the Masonic shit? But
and isn't our money the same color as Monopoly money now?
I don't know, man. I think they definitely do have like some hues that resemble Monopoly money.
That shit's wild.
But money is Monopoly money. That shit ain't real.
It is like Monopoly. That's exactly what it is. It's a game.
Motherfucking game, shit.
It's a liquid asset. That's why they call it cash flow, because liquid flows. So it's a liquid asset. It's a banking term, and you find banks on the corner of a river banks, and they control the currency.
Look at that
Currency.
Wordplay, nigga.
Currency on the cash flow on the liquid assets.
Wordplay.
Yeah, y'all gotta learn about that shit. That shit have you fucking blow the Admiralty law, the maritime shit. That shit's deep as fuck. The straw man, legal fictions, all that shit.
Word. So that's the thing. That's the whole thing. Why we're talking about it, because people don't really care to look anything up.
Exactly. That's why we're sitting here giving y'all information about 9/11 that you ain't know. But
there's
research.
People who argue that. Like I said, I can't talk to many people in my family about that, especially the veterans. You can't be like, nah, our government didn't do that shit. The fuck out of here.
Hell no, yeah. There's especially the older heads. They're like way too brainwashed.
It's sad, but it's a sad truth, man. Look it up.
Not everybody could be woke, but everybody needs to be woke.
Yeah. If we want shit to change, that's what we need.
And we ain't talk about Obama change, man. We ain't talk about loose change.
No.
Nah. But yeah, so I was just drop in and do a little episode on little 9/11 kind of tribute deal, and then talk about it a little bit. Ain't really get to research too much about it, but I should have. Wasn't thinking about it. I was actually more focused on another episode that we're actually going to be doing on the Anunnaki, which is going to be coming up soon, probably in a couple days. So that's why I didn't do a lot of research on the 9/11 topic, but I feel like I shared a pretty good amount of factual information mixed in with my bullshit.
Yeah.
That seems legitimate bullshit.
Whether you had facts or not, you were laying down a lot of questionable shit that did happen.
Eyebrow raising shit.
A lot of
stuff
stuff like, wait a minute.
For sure. That think twice
right.
shit.
That ain't right. So,
yeah, that was the purpose.
Boom.
So, obviously, if you don't think it's right, research it, look it up, validate it, make sure that shit's correct. That's what it's about. So, all right, bro, we signing out. Level 1 woke. Happy podcasting, fuckers.
Peace out.